in this video, I'm going to be walking y'all through how to place correctly the EKG leads. Now, a typical 12 lead EKG is done with 10 electrodes. So the first one we're going to do is for the resting EKG electrode placement, and then we'll move on to the exercise EKG placement. So I'm going to start with the limb leads. First we have our AVR, and this is going to go on the patient's right wrist. Okay. Next we have AVL, which is similarly going to go on the patient's left wrist. For AVF, we have on the left ankle. And for the last limb lead, we have the ground lead, which goes on the right ankle. So those are the limb leads for the resting EKG. Next, we'll move on to the chest leads. We have V1, which is going to go on the right side on the fourth intercostal space. So I'm going to find his clavicle next to the sternum, walk my fingers down into the fourth intercostal space. V2 is going to go directly opposite that in the left fourth intercostal space. I'm going to do V4 next because that's easier to find where V3 is going to go. You're going to find mid-clavicular line, so the midpoint of his clavicle, and go directly beneath the pec muscle. V3 goes in between V4 and V2. And if you have to move laterally to find an intercostal space, that's okay. V6 is the next one we're going to place. In this one, we take V4 and we draw a line directly over to the mid-axillary line, which is the line under the armpit, and find the intercostal space there. The last chest lead is V5, and it is going to go in between V4 and V6, and also another intercostal space. So this is what a typical resting EKG would look like. Now, in our settings, we're going to be using exercise EKGs. What we're going to do to modify a resting to an exercise EKG is we're going to take the limb leads and place them on the patient's abdomen and chest. What we would do, why we do this, is so we can get clearer lines on the EKG. There's not as much movement, as well as if the patient is running on a treadmill or walking or doing any kind of exercise, you don't want them tripping over wires on the floor. Also, when you have them in the same area, they can wear a belt that just continually puts the wires in a singular place for them to not trip over or get in the way during the actual EKG testing. So what I'm going to do for an exercising EKG, we also have to prep the skin. So what I would do before placing each of these leads is I would take a razor. We're not going to shave him today. We take a razor and shave off the hair. We would then take an alcohol swab and swab off the areas where we were going to place the new leads. And then we would take a bristle pad and rough up those areas so we get those dead skin cells off so the electrodes can stick better. Okay, first going to start with AVR. Now this is going to go in the client's right infraclavicular space. The best way to find that is have them flex their arm, have your arm on their shoulder, and have them push in so you can find that fossa right there. You can put your arm down, thank you. We're going to do the same thing for AVL. Have the patient flex his arm, push in, and find that fossa. Again, we would prep the skin like just discussed. For AVF, we are going to find the right hip, the left hip, and the end of the left ribs, and go midpoint in between there. For the last lead, we have ground, and it's going to go at the same point on the right side. So you go to the end of the ribs and the hip, you go in between for those placements. This is what an EKG for an exercising test looks like. Here you can now place the cords all in one area so it's more compact and easier to access for the actual exercise. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope this helps.